All righty.
We're ready to go. Okay, wow, great participation tonight. Thanks everybody for coming out. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is going to be a joint committee meeting, once again, of the Education Committee and the Student Services Committee. So I'll call the meeting to order, and are there any public comments?
There are none, sir.
Okay, so we're already on to the reviewing of the committee minutes from last month's meeting, Zoom meeting. Did anybody get a chance to look at those? And does anybody have any changes or recommendations or suggestions? Hearing none. Moving on now to item number 4, the school improvement program.
Sure. So tonight, well, actually last month, you heard from myself and our directors talking about how we were closing out the year, how we survived our last 3 months of school. Tonight, Mr. Olson, Dr. Tyrell, and Mr. Nolting are going to talk about, what it was like on the front lines, closing out 3 large high schools with close to 7,500 students. So Jen and Eric and Bob are going to share with you what it was like closing out our school year, our graduations, our cleanouts, and so forth. So I've asked each of them to share with you what that was like, how it worked, and I thought that would be something that you would all be very curious about and potentially have questions, but I know Eric and Jen and Bob are delighted to share with you the really the great steps and processes they put in place to get our kids feeling good about the end of the school year. So do you guys have an order? Jen, do you want to start, or how do you guys want to do this?
Sure, I'm happy to lead off tonight. Thanks, Dr. Dyer. Hi, it's really nice to see everybody tonight. And really excited to just be able to share some of the highlights of the end of the year from Carl Sandburg High School. And everything that I share is really representative of the work of our entire staff, our students, our family members, and our community. And we've said it all along through our e-learning experience the last couple of months that we really are just so proud of everyone. And that pride just has rung throughout e-learning. We had probably the most special and exciting week of the year at Sandburg last week when we celebrated the class of 2020 through our graduations. But I'll share that last. I have a couple of highlights that I want to share, and I probably will reference a lot of things that my colleagues will as well. And, just want to hit a couple of notes. So from the academic side and the learning side, really proud of the work of our professional learning community teams. Really early in our e-learning experience, we realized that we were going to be finishing out our semester on remote learning. And that caused our teams to really have to huddle up, recalibrate, and determine the essential learning and topics and concepts that they would be revisiting, that they would be introducing, and that they would be working with our kids in terms of engaging with throughout the course of the year. So our teams worked really hard. They worked with our division chairs. They outlined the essentials, but they also talked about each and every student in that, our goal is to see what grades we could increase. And we talked a lot about grading at Sandburg. We talked a lot about grading across the district with our students, with our families, but we really approached the e-learning experience with improvement in mind. And that was critical as we really worked through the last couple of weeks. And our teachers did a phenomenal job working, really individualizing their programming, creating Zoom sessions with their classes, working with their professional learning community teams. But it really went beyond that as well. Our PPS personnel, our counselors and PPS administrators working with the instructional folks as well on access and engagement. And really what we did as a district and as a building is we took our entire program, everything that we do when we're in session, and did it all remotely. And I know all of us follow people in other districts. It'd be hard pressed to find a district that did more than District 230. Highlight for us, obviously, the nature of AP exams and AP testing changed, and we realized that right away early in the process of e-learning. But at Sandburg, 977 students completed 1,900 AP tests, which was a 10% increase from last year. So 90% of all tests that students signed up to take have been completed already, which is just terrific given the nature of our remote learning environment. Something else that, I think we were one of the first schools around to really kind of unveil was our e-service learning program. And we had a school improvement emphasis on service learning this year. And we realized that a lot of those in-person efforts had to stall because of the environment that we're living in. But our students really jumped in. They made cards for first responders. They recorded themselves reading books to young children. And then it expanded even beyond that to where now kids and families were sharing different efforts, different service efforts that our students were doing, that alumni were doing in the community. And I get the privilege of hearing from a lot of students, a lot of families, a lot of teachers about awesome efforts that are happening. And so we created a thing called Sandburg Cares so that we could then push out that good news to the rest of our community. Connectedness is a huge thing for us at Sandburg, and I think that we really shined in this area, as my colleagues, as our other two schools did during e-learning. The social media was positive. We had our theme weeks. We had all kinds of things going in the connectedness lane, so many house visits and parades and signs. And I think the thing that really we can hang our hat on is the love that we have in our school community was on full display, and that was really across the district. The relationships, the strong relationships that our staff have with our students, that our students have with our staff, that we have with our families, really did shine during our e-learning experience. A couple of events that were highlights for us: our senior scholarship night, which we went virtual with, was an outstanding opportunity to celebrate class of 2020. I know my colleagues will agree and probably share some of the same sentiments. Very early on in this journey, we decided as a district leadership team that we are going to prioritize the class of 2020 and that we are going to make everything happen that we possibly could for them. And as we sit right now on June 9th, I think we all feel like we've done one heck of a job for the class of 2020. In terms of graduation, last week, very early on, we decided, not early on, but early May, we decided that we were going to go in the direction of a drive-through graduation, and we were going to put on a virtual graduation as well for our students. And I'll admit, I've shared this with a lot of people, I had a hard time seeing the vision for what a drive-through graduation would look like. And as I sat at the end of the night on Thursday, I couldn't have been more proud of the experience. It truly was a Sandburg experience for our students and families. At the end of the night, we had about 70 staff members in attendance on Thursday night. They walked up to the Circle Drive and celebrated the last, handful of cars that passed and students that crossed the stages at Sandburg. And it was a really surreal moment. It was probably my favorite event that I participated in my career. And that's because of the smiles on the students' faces, because of how great they felt and how we were able to respectfully, in a fun and memorable way, close out their high school experience and their Sandburg experience. So all of the feedback that we received was positive, and that culminating experience was the result of a lot of conversations, a lot of planning, and a lot of people just taking the time to celebrate, recognize, and carry out a vision. By the end, we had a DJ, we had a huge Elite Daily banner that kind of looks like our inside mural with all of our students' names on it. We had, but most of all, we had the people. We had staff that came to celebrate our students, and that's what they're going to remember. When we talk to our kids, they note the relationships, the connections, and how much love they have for the people that have been part of their Sandburg experience. So thank you to everybody for your support along the way. I really could not be more proud of the entire Sandburg community and the District 230 community. There's a lot more I could share, but it was a special end to an interesting couple of months. So thank you for your support.
Congratulations, Jen. Good job.
Why don't we go to Mr. Nolting? Oh, you know, I don't think Mr. Nolting joined us yet. Mr. Olson.
All right, just unmuting myself here. Certainly I share many of the same sentiments that Jen Tyrell shared. So really, it's good to see everyone here, and I'm really kind of honored to share with you the accomplishments of the STAG community over the last, obviously, few months. The first thing I want to hit on really is first recognizing our staff. Um, as Jen said, we were thrown this curveball early on, and our staff didn't skip a beat. They were ready to jump in and to support our students all the way through this journey. And we started off by reminding our staff and our community chargers, you got this. And we got to the end of the year, and the bottom line is they did it. Our staff did it, and they were absolutely amazing. I also want to recognize the administrative team as well at Stagg High School, who put in countless hours. I tell people now that our work days are determined if we're conscious or not. Both with staff and particularly with administration, they were working all day and into the evening to make all the things that I'm about to share happen. And then finally, just recognizing our students because they're the reason why we put in this effort, and they responded at a tremendous level. So really, the entire STAG community really should be recognized for all of their hard work. And Jen, referred to the hard work of the PLCs and the really hard conversations that our staff was thrown into. But I just want to take just a moment to share just a really quick story of what staff at Stagg did. There was a young man at Stagg High School who, because of his work situation, and basically he was told, you have to come in. He worked at a grocery store. You have to come in and work. And it was during the day. Considered an essential worker, and because of schedules and timing, he was required to come in. So he couldn't participate during the designated times during the school day. And his math teacher reached out to him, asked him, hey, what's going on? Haven't seen you. He explained his situation. So our math teacher set up a special time for him in the evening to review the things that were reviewed during the day just for him because of the unique situation that had happened. And then I found out that was happening more, that we had more students that were in those unique situations, and our staff went above and beyond what our designated school day was to help support those students. And I think that's just an example of the lengths to which our staff went to support our students. Our staff members readily jumped on board if students weren't engaged and called home, checking in on students and encouraging engagement and talking with parents. And they did so at exceptionally high levels, and it really resulted in a higher degree of engagement and looping kids back in who may have been lost in the fog of COVID and everything that was going on. So really just tremendous job, and it's all based on the relationships that they have with our students. If you follow us on social media, you'll see that our students were creating community service messages for our community to encourage safe practices. They were creating messages of goodwill and hope and wellness to everyone, which was absolutely awesome. We had our theme days that our students and staff had an absolute blast participating in and tweeting out pictures of the different themes that we had. Stagg High School also jumped on board with service learning. Over 1,500 hours of virtual service learning was completed by our students, and that included blood donations to Salvation Army and Goodwill, donating to local food pantries. They wrote to residents of Misericordia, wrote letters to senior citizens, and thank you letters to first responders. And then they also did tutoring for younger students via e-learning. So it was just wonderful to see, and just wonderful to see how quickly our students jumped on board to really give back to the community during this really, really difficult time. a special shout out to our PPS staff and our guidance department. They created a process for identifying students and families that were in need, and they performed wellness checks, provided supports for families, and routed them in the direction to get the necessary supports within the community. Within that, it was created a fund called the Chargers Who Care Fund. And it started off with an anonymous donation of $1,000, and then was quickly followed by just an amazing, generous donation from the the Teachers Association at Stagg High School, and then that followed by, because of their generosity, then staff members contributed more to create a fund that has supported numerous families in the Stagg community by providing them gift cards to Walmart and other places to support them when they had family members that weren't working and when they were struggling. So hats off to our staff members, to the Teachers Association for that generous donation. And I just want to say that our community is still benefiting from that. Just this week, we issued another gift card to another family who is still struggling right now. So even though the school year is done, the good work of our staff and the generosity goes on and will go on through the remainder of the summer until we get through all of this. Our technology department was busy arranging for students to get Chromebooks fixed and for hotspots to be delivered. And we were out in the community delivering those to our families to make sure that all of our students could stay engaged. And just seeing the appreciation on those families' faces when you pulled up and knocked on the door and you had that there for them was something that I will never, ever forget, that will stay with me forever. We've completed all of our underclass and senior checkouts, where we're able to get them through the building for them to drop off their materials, to clean out their lockers, and do so in a way that ensured that all safety protocols were followed. Everyone was socially distanced. Everyone had masks and PPE on, and the students were amazing. They were just there wasn't one complaint, and they all followed the rules, and they all greeted everyone with "Are you okay?" Which I think is a theme that I hope carries on well beyond this pandemic. Our month of May was the May for seniors. And so we committed the entire month to recognizing our seniors and celebrating the class of 2020. On social media, all of our sports and activities highlighted the seniors that were graduating. We had our scholarship caravan, which was just absolutely awesome, organized by our guidance department. Just a fantastic twist on a traditional scholarship program, that if you could see the looks on the faces of the families when they saw the whole caravan of cars coming and really kind of running out there and with banners celebrating their achievements. It was something that was really, really special. And along with our class of 2020, we also had our retirees, and we hosted a retirement parade for all of our retirees, which was an absolute blast to get the staff together and doing something good to honor retirees, because it wasn't what we had expected their last year to end with. We had over 70 volunteers deliver senior signs to all of our graduating class of 2020. They came out in droves and delivered them all and put them in the lawns of our students, which was just awesome. And then finally on to graduation. We had nearly 500 students out of 600 participate. Last Thursday, we did 500 graduates in 600 minutes crossing the stage. It was super well organized, absolutely amazing. And our staff created their own honor guard. And for 10 hours, they were out there cheering on each graduate as they crossed the stage and then kind of proceeded off the campus. It was super memorable, really, really touching, really, really special. And we're looking forward to the final video production of a full graduation that will use all the filming from that. And that should be coming out in the next few weeks. And then finally, I just, want to say that, I know this is true of our other two schools, but Stagg High School got a tremendous amount of PR from this. Chicago Tribune, CBS, WGN, all highlighted Stagg High School, either in the paper or on TV for the amazing community that we have. So that's a whole laundry list of things, and I went on for way too long, but I just want to, again, shout out to the Stagg community, to our ESPs, to our teachers, to our administrators. You did a tremendous job, and for a terrible situation, it was an absolutely amazing experience.
Congratulations, Eric. Good job.
Thanks, Eric. Mr. Nolting, fill us in on how things went on the South Side.
Yes, I apologize for my tardiness, but I thank Mr. Olson for stretching that out to make sure that I got here on time and situated. So
I'm here for you, bud. I'm here for you.
I do apologize. I had 7 o'clock embroiled in my head, and I'm sorry. But obviously, we all had our challenges through a remote learning platform, and I think many things are very similar because we had a really good dialogue between all three buildings, whether it was at the building principal level, whether it was at the division chair level, whether it was at the teacher team level. So a lot of continuity. But things that I'm particularly proud of at Andrew, we had about a range of a 91 to 94% daily check-in rate from our students, which was positive. It was a little bit of a road to get back on after the March events, which are hard to remember at this point in time. We are happy to report that 100% of our class of 2021, who we anticipated to graduate as of March 13th, did so. So we were very, very pleased by that. At the end of this, we had a series of students with incomplete grades, but it was very small. Most of those students were struggling academically, so we're putting interventions in place to make sure that they have an opportunity to make up the grade, since the dynamic of the situation was such that their pre-existing challenges were even more highlighted. We did have 40 students that we worked through and waived their academics because of circumstances due to the COVID-19 pandemic and life circumstances. So I want to applaud our PPS teams, our guidance department, our deans, is really having relationships with the families, to be honest, and say, listen, we're dealing with some trauma going on, much of which has to do with the situation that we were all dealing with. And we worked with 40 of those families, and most of those students still did the academic work that they were expected to do, but to make sure that we had a plan in place for those kids was a profound accomplishment from our PPS team. I was really pleased at what our Fridays turned into, which was a great day for learning between staff, for exchanges of ideas, managing problems. We had a very good ongoing dialogue with our Teachers Association leadership throughout this time, including meeting with our whole building team on a bi-weekly basis, just to process through some of the concerns that they had. And I won't go through the list of things that we were able to transition and problem solve kind of live and on stage, but we did a lot of it. I'm very pleased that we had regular engagement with our student advisories. I met every Monday afternoon with our senior leaders. I met every Wednesday afternoon with our superintendent's advisory students. Our senior leaders really drove why I think our end of the year, and as Eric had mentioned, I'll get to more in a moment, why our graduation was so impactful, is because we asked them. We asked the kids, what do you want? How do you want to close this out? How do you? And they were very thoughtful. We had kids putting on their own surveys of their colleagues, of their peers, to tell us what happened. We had a lot of great feedback from our superintendent's advisors. What was going well? What were they struggling with? What were things that they really were challenged by? They loved the planning of graduation, prom, and other recognition events. They loved the instructional platform that we shifted to, particularly when we went to that period by period schedule. There was a lot of positive responses, a lot better organized, they felt, at that point. They really thought that it was a thoughtful process about how our grading practices were given the circumstances. They were struggling with loss of relationships. It really helped us understand that, what, we had to go to remote learning because of situations going on. However, they really missed the teachers. They really missed each other. Not that I was surprised by that, but that was definitely prolonged in terms of feedback. The AP testing impact was a long conversation with a lot of our students about how those challenges were. And they're concerned about their academic growth. I think as we convert our conversations over the summer, they're concerned about coming back and being ready academically, particularly for those that are in the core, everybody's in the core, those core classes, world languages, their preparation for the SAT, particularly for our sophomores, and even for our juniors who did not take the SAT. So there were a lot of great conversations that they had. Like Mr. Olson, and I'm sure Dr. Tyrell, I want to make some highlights. A lot of this was on social media. I got to tell you, I was exhausted by trying to be active on social media, but also trying to be responsive to our staff who are active on social media and our students. But kudos to a few groups. The Ultima student parade was a highlight they actually did multiple, but that was a highlight to see those kids and those teachers reconnecting. Probably the kids that missed their teachers the most. We were very happy to be on the front end of the signs. We have to replace some signs. Maybe it was too early to get signs up in early April, so we had to replace a few that were weather damaged, but that's all right. We'll keep those going. The community parade, we had about 115 staff members driving around Tinley Park. We had actually spread up into 3 groups, so some of us missed the other 2/3 of Tinley Park and in Orland Hills, but we were really, it was an awesome experience. It was without the South Side Parade this year, this was second best. And I want to give a lot of credit to our guidance department and specifically at Andrew Cody Daly. Our college and career week, which was the first week in May, was profoundly impactful. We had, I can't even count how many, definitely at least half of our students submitted their colleges, their trade schools, their vocational programs to our Twitter page. I couldn't count as many, but it went all the way from Arizona State to Northern Michigan, out to the East Coast, even to the Teamsters Union. We had representatives from those universities preparing videos congratulating specific Andrew students who are entering those schools. I think we're going to have a lot more schools wanting to go to Northern Colorado University because of the background screen of that particular person, but it was just remarkable. I do want to say unofficially, I won the social media physical challenges of the 3 principals. I had a run going there from Dr. Tyrell, but I had her on the upside down, put a sweatshirt on portion of the events. So I do want to claim that prize publicly tonight. But we did end obviously just on Friday with graduation. I was shocked that 520 of our 550 graduates participated. In fact, some students who originally said that they weren't interested in participating, once we were able to update more information, actually jumped back in to participate. Our staff were there. I couldn't even count how many staff were there, but if you went to the back of the building, just to give you a perspective at Andrew, we called it the mullet structure. So it was a party in the back, business in the front. So we celebrated the graduates in the front with their diplomas, but we partied with them in the back with music and banners and so on and so forth. And I really was impressed as well with our virtual video watch party. Brian Nolan and several others launched that. We were able to have our graduates actually go home after the ceremony, plug into YouTube and watch the virtual graduation unfold before their eyes in a watch party. And we had, I think, almost 16 local restaurants that participated in that virtual watch party, offering discounts and significant discounts to families who wanted to grab some sandwiches or a pizza or what have you and go watch the watch party at home. So that's all I got for you. I could certainly answer any questions, but the good, the bad, the ugly, and I'm hopeful that none of this has to be ever repeated ever again, even though there was a lot of fun to it. There was a lot of positivity to it. But you know what? I missed school, good old fashioned school more than ever. So thank you.
Good job.
Yeah, thanks, Bob and Eric and Jen. And I'm going to propose the next principal challenge. Each one need to grow a mullet.
Been there, done that, but I will do it again. I guarantee it.
I think I could win that one.
I'm at a disadvantage.
Mr. O'Sullivan, I would have won that about a week ago, but I finally got a haircut. I did win it. Look like my wedding pictures of '86.
Oh, gotta love it. Gotta love it. Okay, well, again, thanks everybody. I mean, what an amazing journey. I mean, we had remote learning for about 75 days, all the big celebrations, done virtually. And I can say as a board member, I want to thank all the principals, the administration for allowing us as board members to participate in the graduations. We were able to do a speech at Stagg and a shout out at Sandberg. And I really enjoyed being an Andrew, placing the diploma holders on the podium up there. It was different, but it didn't seem rushed, which I thought was kind of nice. I mean, you tell somebody grab it, you stand there, take a picture, maybe take an extra picture or two. So I know it took a lot of time, but I just felt like it was pretty meaningful because it wasn't rushed. I thought that was really kind of interesting. And I really, really enjoyed that piece of it. And then Jen's cutouts with the 3 stages, that was awesome. I don't know who thought of that, but that was fantastic. And I never given a speech, so I appreciate Eric letting us do that as well. And the feedback I've gotten, I haven't gotten any negative feedback. The only feedback I've gotten from the graduation was positive, to the point where I've had people say, "Ooh, we should do this every year." I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but that's certainly the only bad thing is people say they want more of it. And even my daughter, who graduated in 2018, said, "Boy, I wish I could have done this instead of what I went through." Nothing personal, Dr. Gay, but that's what she said. And I did have one question. It's a little off topic, but it was brought up a couple of times. Any idea when the next SAT or ACT testing is going to be? Are they going to have virtual tests? Are they just going to punt until the fall? Has anybody heard anything about those tests at all?
So I know Don Reuter Cox is tracking that. It hasn't been determined yet. I know that the state has said that they are going to fund another another series of tests for us in the fall when we're back at school. We just don't know when that is yet.
Yeah, I would think the 21s would take the SAT, the 22s would take the PSAT, right? In the fall, probably,
So,
and then hopefully get back.
Dr. Garber, I can jump in. I believe the state has predetermined a date of September 25th for a class.
Oh, did they?
Mhm,
Okay.
for class of 2021. However, that's very tentative based on what schools can do with regard to the physics. We're all struggling with how we're going to reopen, right? So,
Yeah.
and then they've also delayed their launch of a summer test nationally as well. So there's supposed to be a January test, but we just found out they suspended that for the time being.
January, Bob, or
I'm sorry, June. It was a J month. There's 3 of them. I get them all mixed up. I apologize.
okay.
June.
It'd be interesting for college admissions. I know the trend already was to do away with these standardized tests. And in particular for the class of 2021, it'll be really interesting to see how the colleges adapt to that with their admissions guidelines, I guess, and what they use to determine admissions. It'd be very, very interesting, because it won't be like everything else in the last 3 months. It won't be normal, right?
Right.
They canceled the June ACT. It was at Andrew, and that one was canceled. So we moved to July, but they ran out of slots in July. So there were many kids that couldn't reschedule into that. So we'll see if they even hold July.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had to go down to Kankakee for July because everything else local was full.
The principals did talk quite a bit, and I think appropriately so, and I appreciate it. I do want to open it up to everybody. We've got, I think, 40 participants. Maybe we can use the raise hand or something. But if anybody wants to have any comments or questions, I want to take a lot of time to open up the floor, because we went through a whole lot in the last 30 to 45 days. And they were big, long reports, and appropriately so, like I said. But I want to take some time to open up and hear what the community has to say, and other board members, administrations, and teachers. Again, you may want to use the raise hand option if you know how to use that over on the chat to the right, so we don't step all over each other. But I do want to open up for everyone right now. Or just start talking.
I'd like to say something. I just want to say that I think that the district did an awesome job, Mr. Nolting and everyone at Andrew. I did have a son that did graduate this year as a senior, and I know they missed a lot of things, but I really want to thank everyone for really trying to make it as special as it can be. And I think it was a success. And, you know, he was my last child that graduated, and my other two sons, I made them go, and they were kind of like, but they were like, oh, this was the best graduation. So yeah, so I really truly want to thank everyone, from the signs and everyone. It really did make a difference for those kids that did graduate.
Thank you. Thank you. And Jack is, we'll take him back anytime. Just remember that.
I'd like to speak on my daughter Abby graduated from Sandburg, class of 2020 just recently, and just thank you to Dr. Tyrell and all your staff for really making a special time of very difficult circumstances. It was received very well here, and a really special moment for Abby and for the whole family. I have to share a story too. I was working in my office, my home office, one early morning, and somebody said, hey, there's a car out front of the house, and somebody's putting a sign in our lawn. You know what? So I'm like, nobody's putting a sign in my lawn. And I sprinted up from my office, and I come running out to be greeted by Dr. Tyrell. And it was a very pleasant surprise. I don't think a principal has ever come to our door. I think that's a good thing. So just thanks again, Jen, for everything you did for Abby and for our family.
You're welcome, Mr. Hooks, and thanks for your support of Sandburg.
You bet.
Well, I'll just say something real quick. I mean, I'm not going to repeat myself from all the other things I've said, and I've said it many times, but everybody has done a phenomenal job. And I think it showed at the graduations from the number of compliments that, you know, were received, and how well you did, the appreciation from the parents, the appreciation from the students. You know, look at our participation numbers, look at everything we've done. You know, I think, as I've said before, you know, everybody should be very proud of what they did. And I think what everyone has done is, you know, continues to make us understand why this district is so different from so many other districts, and it's such a great place to be. So, you know, I'll leave it at that, but you guys all know how I feel and how much I appreciate everything you guys do.
I'll
Go ahead, Megan.
Oh, sure. Just real quick, I just wanted to say that I appreciated all the work that the pivoting that the teachers had to do. Working in higher ed, we had to go to virtual as well, and I mean, it's a big lift, and so you know, nobody was prepared. So as a parent of a junior, I really appreciated it. My daughter was out for 5 days with influenza A, and this happened about 2 weeks before school closed. So she was still knee deep in trying to make up work after missing so much school. And to be honest, some of that work I think was finished up the final week of classes in May. But the teachers really worked with her and spread things out. A lot of teachers gave kids extra credit chances throughout the period of time so they could really work on their grades. And I, you know, I know it wasn't easy for everybody in the virtual environment, but we really, in our household, really appreciated the extra effort that teachers made to help the kids succeed. So thanks.
I just wanted to add that as we went through this whole experience, how proud I am that we have a district that has real growth mindset, because let me tell you, everyone was using new skills and learning how to adapt and to do it in a timely manner, and to do it in a positive move forward manner. So I'm just really proud of the staff, the administration, the support staff, the teachers. I mean, everybody just came together to do what they had to do, and it was not easy. And I know that there was a lot more time put into these days to make sure that they could deliver that curriculum and the support. And as a board member, I am very thankful for the way everyone responded. So I just want to thank the principals, the administration, those teachers, our counselors, and support staff. Everybody seemed to do what needed to be done to keep things moving forward and to keep it in a positive light. Because everyone, I'm sure, was getting tired. We're all getting a little tired of being cooped up, but you kept that energy positive for our students, and it is greatly appreciated.
Okay, if anyone else wants to speak up, just let me know. But we're going to move on now. I think we're on to summer programming update. Is that correct, Kim?
We are. We have special guests with us tonight. I am delighted to introduce James Holt, Tim O'Shea, and Tony Roditis. Not necessarily strangers to this committee. They've been here before. These three gentlemen are going to walk us through the work that they have been preparing for and organizing for our summer school. Clearly, it is virtual. Luckily, we were planning under the guidance of the brilliant Dr. Stacy Gonzalez to be online to begin with. But James and Tim and Tony are just going to provide to you an overview a little bit more in depth than what we've talked about before at our committee about what that is actually going to look like. Stacy, I didn't know if you wanted to start that off or if you just want me to roll it over to James. So I'll
Sure. I've got one comment just to wrap that up, which have been some questions also coming up relative to driver education. So I wanted to just make sure that we touch base on that as well. We did have to cancel our summer school driver education based on our Secretary of State guidance because we do have classroom hours and behind the wheel hours. We currently could not offer those, but we are, and we have been talking about a plan for our students who in the spring were not able to complete their behind the wheel hours since we went into remote learning. So we as a leadership team, the principals, the driver education DCs are working on a plan. So just, we've gotten some questions about that. So just wanted to touch base on that. But without further ado, I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Holt, who will give like a little synopsis and then introduce Mr. O'Shea and Mr. Roditis.
Yeah, hi everybody. Trying to keep my thoughts together, broadcasting from our basement. We just had some warnings go off. So basically we're as Dr. Dreyer and Dr. Gonzalez had mentioned, we had already kind of prepared for a virtual format, except it was not going to be completely virtual. We were going to have a kind of a help center set up at Sandburg, but we've been able to transition that into a virtual help center that is being staffed throughout the day with Zoom links for staff to be able to come in. Mr. O'Shea will probably describe that a little bit more in depth, but basically we're looking at two main types of programs. We have our accelerated or our blended classes, which have been running the last few years. And then our credit recovery is running through an online platform Edgenuity that many of you have probably heard about in the past as well. So, with both of those, we feel as though we're able to meet the needs for the students. First few days, we've just been trying to run through, clean some things up, make sure kids are in the right sections and things like that. We feel like we're in a good place and transitioning and looking to move forward with the rest of the summer.
Great.
Not sure,
So-
Tim or Tony?
Yeah, so
I could.
Tony, or Tim, if you could talk a little bit about what the credit recovery model looks like and in the work that you do. So both Tony and Tim serve as technology innovation facilitators in the summer. So you've heard about our TIFs. And so they've kind of really been instrumental in supporting our teachers to deliver the instruction. So go ahead, Tim.
For our credit recovery courses, we are utilizing Edgenuity, and it's an online learning platform that allows for our teachers to kind of customize a lot of the content to meet both our district content connections, as well as customize it for that individual student based on their IEP needs. We have a phenomenal, flexible group of educators that are helping during that credit recovery portion. This is a new model for the majority of our students, as well as it is for the majority of our teachers that are used to doing summer school in more of that face-to-face model. And you have bumps the first day or two, but they have been handled phenomenally. And the feedback from both the teachers and the students that I've been talking to through a couple of phone calls today have been nothing but fantastic. Students are connecting with all of our credit recovery teachers on a daily basis, either by phone call or email or our Zoom conferences. All of our credit recovery teachers are available every single day for students to check in with via Zoom if they have any struggles, or if they just want to check in and say, hey, students that are falling a little bit behind the pacing guidelines, because that's one of the biggest struggles that our students will encounter during this online kind of self-paced aspect of it is staying on that short condensed timeline. So sometimes the kids will pop into the Zoom meeting just to say, hey, I'm struggling on this specific content area. Sometimes they're checking in to meet with the teachers to develop a plan and talk about how are they, what is the actual method of their learning, and give them study strategies and whatnot. So we actually went through and then we staggered all of our teachers. So we have teachers that are content experts in math, and we kind of split them throughout the day. And we have teachers that are content experts in English, and we split them throughout the day, and social studies, and split them throughout the day. So that whenever the student does want to pop on, it doesn't necessarily have to be with their quote unquote teacher of record. They could hop into my class, or they could hop into Mr. McGreal's class, or they could hop on to Miss Sweeney's Zoom sessions and get help from any of those teachers. Using this platform has allowed us to offer a lot of content course options. We have a couple of classes that only have maybe like one kid in it. We've not offered credit recovery physics since I've been a part of the district doing credit recovery. But using Edgenuity, it's pretty easy to do. We could take that kid, put him on Tom Vanderveen's roster, and he might only have one kid on his roster taking physics, but he also has kids taking bio and kids taking junior American Lit, and he can facilitate a lot of that online learning. So it's been a really, it's been met with a lot of positive results so far and a lot of positive feedback, and we're gonna kind of keep going with it.
Great. Thank you, Tim, for all the work you've done. I know you've done a lot on the back end, getting Edgenuity set up, and a lot of training on that as well, and getting our staff and students and parents doing a parent night and really interfacing with that. So appreciate that.
Yeah.
Mr. Ruditas is our TIF who's kind of helping support our teachers through the accelerated courses. So Tony.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see everyone. So moving our blended summer courses to a fully online format has actually gone pretty smoothly. You have a couple of hiccups here and there, but overall it's been great. We're really fortunate that we have experience using the blended learning format for summer school courses from the past, and we have instructors who have successfully taught their classes in this format before. So for a lot of our teachers, this summer is another opportunity to refine what we've done in the past. Our students are benefiting from this experience and the tools we have available, and we have some great tools available. Our primary delivery system is Canvas, and it's great because everything for the class, all the materials, all the readings, all the assessments, even the links for the Zoom meetings, it can all be housed in that one location. So the kids, they don't have to spend a lot of time trying to figure out where is this, where do I go for my work. They know they go to one place and then they can focus on their learning. For each of our students, they can access the content at any time. When they log on to the system, they're able to see all the carefully planned activities and pacing guides created by their instructors. And I've had a chance to work with the teachers and help everybody get everything ready. And it's great just to see how many different varieties of creative lesson planning has gone into the summer so far. And it lets the kids, this is like so important, it lets them move again through the content at their own pace. As a lot of us know, our kids, sometimes they like to work later in the evening or the middle of the day, or they have jobs and other responsibilities. And now they're able to really focus and maximize the time they have available so they can move through the content. And some of the kids, they go through it really quickly. We have available class meetings for the students for whole class environments or one-on-one with the instructors to provide clarification. If the student's more comfortable working one-on-one with the teacher, they can schedule that as well. And we're using systems like Remind and email to arrange these meetings. And then, if it's a quick thing, it can be communicated via email. Otherwise, if the student wants, you can have that one-on-one time with their instructor via Zoom or a Google Meet. And then we also use things like discussion boards to help the students collaborate and bounce ideas off each other. I had my first meeting with my students yesterday, and it was funny because a lot of the kids, you can tell they're a little bit zoomed out. There were a lot of Zoom meetings, but I'd say, okay, give me a little bit of feedback, guys, give me something, and they'd speak up and they'd help me out a little bit, and I appreciated that. And it was nice too because one of my concerns was like, are they ready for this? Are they ready to go? And just based on the level of communication I've already had from my own class and things I've seen in the other courses, the kids are ready. They're going to tackle it, and we're going to have a good, productive summer. So thank you.
I will add one piece to it. I think that when we do come back, one of the things that I'm going to have to highlight with some of my students is this idea of getting healthy sleep. When I log onto these reports and I see what times the kids are working on it, it's mind-boggling. I wish that I could stay up as late as some of these guys are staying up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is certainly a difficulty of having teenagers. I can speak to that. One of the other things that we have in summer schools, we do have a special education teacher and a EL teacher. Both of those two individuals do not have courses of students, but they go through and ensure that students with IEPs or students who are identified as ESL learners are receiving support and services. So we also have those individuals in place. And that is it, Mr. O'Sullivan and Dr. Dreyer.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez.
I gotta get my other device out here. Okay, next is curriculum and instructional. We just did that. I'm gonna turn it over to our chairperson for Student Services, Board Member Melissa Gracias, to take us through the entire rest of tonight's meeting. Are you ready to go, Melissa?
Mr. O'Sullivan, I think we might have a few more curriculum and instruction updates.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
No apologies.
No apologies. That's okay. We have one. So everyone should have received a copy in their email of a document showing the text for our English course for mythology. So that's a text review. So it goes to this committee. There's a link there. You can go ahead if you want. Open that up, look at that text that our teachers have selected, look through that, and then that will then go to our June board meeting. It'll sit for 30 days, and then that will become fully adopted for our updated mythology course for our senior English course next year. So that was the promise. That was the final curriculum and instruction materials review update.
Excellent. So
thank you. All right, Melissa, fire away. You're on. Take us home.
That's it. Well, I'm glad to see everybody. I'm glad you all survived it. And you didn't just survive. You thrived. You stood tall. You made D230 proud. who would have known last August that that slogan would be so true? And you should all be very proud. You should all have a very restful next few weeks, please. You know, decompress, try to enjoy your time off, and we'll hopefully get back to school in the fall and pick up where we left off. But honestly, I'm just humbled and appreciative and so happy to be part of this district. So happy to have a child in this district that really did benefit, even though we were doing e-learning. It was awesome. So thank you all. Anything else, Kim, that we need?
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
Quick question, and I think it's for all the board members, I guess, in some respects. Typically, we do not have the July. Are we going to continue that?
I say yes. I say let's cancel the July.
Is that I'm sorry, Melissa. You said yes?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Okay, so typically we do not have a July meetings because people's schedules are crazy. I don't know how they're going to be this year. Maybe just be crazy going from room to room. But we do that out of respect for people's schedule and for your amazing commitment to the district, helping us out. We truly appreciate it. So we usually do not have the July meetings. So that's not my phone. I swear to God, that's not my phone.
No, it's me. I'm not going to swear tonight.
I know it's not my, so we will, Dr. Dreyer will work with Mrs. Gracias and Mr. O'Sullivan and get a invite out to our August committee meeting.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. I just wanted to let people, open up that time frame.
Mrs. Gracias actually wanted the dates off, and I knew we needed to keep them on there just so we have some pieces
100%.
on there. So
100%.
Melissa, that's why they're there. But yep. Okay. Excellent.
So this way people can have work on their calendar, their private calendar. Thank you. That's all. And then just a minor second closing. I just like to echo what everyone has said. But I mean, this really the direction that we were able to get so much done really comes from the top, which is the board. The board really pushed us last summer around this time maybe to look at e-learning. It was one of the goals that the board came up with last June, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, something like that. And under Kim's direction and the curriculum instruction, and Stacy and John and some other people really worked hard to get e-learning, I think, approved with the board in December. Never did we think it would be, I thought it'd be for one winter snow day or what have you. Never did we think it'd be to what we had to use it for. But the fact that we had it, the board approved it in December. We had some practice dates before. I think it helped a little bit. But as everyone said, no one imagined, March 13th or 15th, whatever it was the last on-site school day, that it would extend so much. And, with the board, the district office administration, the building administration, the staff, teachers, ESPs, the food service, custodians, everybody worked so hard, and they played a major part in making this year come to a successful end, which really ended Friday with our last graduation. And now we are working to work with the governor, IDPH, CDC, ISB, IHSA, any letter you want to put together, to come up with a transition plan as we work toward back to school. I can't tell you right now if it's going to be on site or it's going to be virtual. We don't have that direction 100%. There's a lot of conversation going on, but trust me that we have an amazing administrative team and staff that are willing to work over the summer to put together a program that will that will work for our students, our community, and our staff. And so we were working on it, but it's not a flip of a switch. It's a lot of work to get to see what the next step is, and working with a lot of agencies that really have some say in this. So I just want to let you know that we are working on it, but it will take time. So again, there's to thank everybody for their patience and their understanding. That's all I had, Kim.
Okay. There's some chat. an update on summer sports camps for high school athletes. Stacy, was this emailed to community members? Is that what you were talking about? I just want to be clear.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I thought I sent it to everyone on the committee as an attachment. Maybe I didn't have the entire list. So we'll go back, I'll work with Trish and we'll make sure that we get the document for the adopted materials out. And then the other question was relative to any update on summer sports camp for high school.
Got it. Thank you. I didn't know if that's what you were responding to. I'm like, oh, okay. So I know, I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I know Dr. Gay and the principals have been talking a little bit about this. Is there anything to share in regard to summer sport camps for high school athletes at this time, or is this still up in working?
Yeah, I'll start. Thanks, Kim. I'll start a little bit, but I think the principals and I'm not, as you said, I won't put anyone on the spot, but I might put Bob on the spot in a second. IHSA did come out with some regulations that is, you can have up to 10 student athletes together with a coach, which is 9 student athletes and 1 coach, non-specific sports. Bob, you feel comfortable? I don't know where you are. I don't see you, Bob. Are you still with us?
Yeah, absolutely.
You feel comfortable sharing a little bit what the IHSA latest
Sure.
regulations are?
Yes. So and I have the privilege of serving on the IHSA board, which is a makeup of 10 principals. So the first and the athletic directors, I guess to start, the athletic directors realistically yesterday and today have been meeting to draft an adaptation of what the IHSA is calling their phase 1 plan for reintroducing sports for high school sports. So Dr. Gay was spot on. So there's a lot of restrictions that are put in place based on social distancing, based on wearing masks, based on the fact that they are not to be sport-specific training. They're more what would be described as conditioning and or strength training. They are also, this plan was passed through and supported by both ISB and the Illinois Department of Public Health based on the body of research. And it was originally developed by the Sports Medicine Advisory Committee from the IHSA. So it was written and developed by Department of Public Health officials as well as doctors and trainers as their predominant writers. The goal is to bring something to the district administration as soon as tomorrow. So depending upon how that goes, we hope to be able to communicate to our families soon thereafter, I guess. But that's I guess I'll defer back to Dr. Gay for that piece.
And Bob, is that true to say that that's IHSA phase 1, if phase 2 may come out?
Yeah, so actually on Monday, we have our second meeting and the phase 2 preliminary plan is going to be presented to us at that point. So the idea would be that at earliest, phase 2 would be, phase 2 is actually directly in line with the governor's phase 4 plan.
Yeah. Okay.
So in other words, our phase 2, the IHSA's phase 2 would only be an opportunity to move towards once the governor declares the state or the region, I guess, as phase 4.
Yes. And there's talk that we don't know. There's a lot of talk. That's all I'll say. There's talk everywhere.
Nothing face to face, but
not face to face, but there's talk everywhere where phases are coming or going, and a lot of you guys know everything. You guys watch the press releases, so sometimes we get we don't get it sometimes any sooner than you're getting it. Sometimes Friday at 10, 11 o'clock at night, I'll get an email from the state saying here's a new phase. So it's interesting. But that's a great question. I know summer camps are different by state too. Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Indiana, they're different. But, we'll wait to hear from our governor. Kim, was there any other questions? I'm sorry.
No, we're good.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everybody.
All right. It was great seeing everybody. You guys be safe. Take care to everybody. Take care of your families. It's great seeing everyone.
What?
See you. Thank you. And same to
See you in August.
Guys.
All right.
Good summer.
Thanks,
Enjoy the summer.
everyone.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.